All right, so it is 1 o'clock and I'm going to go ahead and get started. Thank you all for joining me today. I just want to let you know that this is being recorded, so you will be able to view it after the presentation today. And I'm also have you all in a listen-only type of mode. So if you have any questions, there's either a chat box or a Q&A feature. Feel free to utilize either of those. I'm happy to answer any questions or read any comments you have. And my name is Kristen Fleming. I am the Education and Training Coordinator for the Alzheimer's Disease Caregiver Support Initiative. I do just want to briefly go over our services. We are still offering all of our programming virtually or telephonically during the pandemic. So care navigators are meeting with caregivers over the phone right now to enroll them in our program, talk about our services, make a plan for their individual situation, and to let them know about any other community resources that are available to them. We're still giving respite hours, and we're leaving it up to the discretion of the families and the caregivers for if they would like to have someone come into their home for respite hours or not. We recognize that for some people that really is a vital service and they do need the help of others. They can't do all of the care on their own. And so we are supportive of whatever their decision is, and we have been giving them guidelines for some precautions they need to take, wearing masks, washing hands, sanitizing things, etc. We're still offering all of our educational programming online, so we're doing that through webinars and through telephone meetings. I'm able to meet one-on-one with caregivers, with professionals, or I have these public events as well. We're doing telephonic support groups and virtual memory cafes as well. We have our first one coming up on July 16th that I'm very excited for. It's going to be a musical performance by Mitch Willett, and it should be a lot of fun. So if anyone's interested in that, let me know. And then lastly, we are still doing Project Lifesaver, which is a bracelet that people who are at risk for wandering can wear. And we are working with the Sheriff's Department in each county in order to enroll people in this service. And then if, let's say, they go to the bathroom, they come back, their loved one is missing, you look around for your loved one for a few moments, and then if you're not able to find them, then you contact the Sheriff's Department, and they have a big wand that they use to find the person who is missing. And the wonderful thing about that service is it's actually a nationwide program. So say you're on vacation in Florida, you can call the Sheriff's Department down there and they will still be able to help you locate your loved one, which is it's an amazing service. So that's a little bit about us, our program. And today I'm here to talk to you about the stages of dementia, what a caregiver can expect. So let's see. So what is dementia? Well, it's an umbrella term. So you can think about it up at the top of the umbrella. There's many different types of dementia. There's Alzheimer's disease, which is the most common form of dementia. But then there's also Lewy body dementia, frontal temporal dementia, vascular dementia, mixed dementia. You could have more than one type of dementia. And what all of these have in common is the loss of cognitive functioning, which may include memory loss, difficulties with thinking, problem solving, and language. And there also has to be a decline in behavioral abilities that affects a person's daily life. Excuse me. Everyone loses neurons as they age. However, people with dementia will lose these neurons at a much faster rate. And dementia is common as people get older. I believe the statistic is 1 in 10 people over the age of 65 will be diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, and 1 in 3 people over the age of 85 will be diagnosed with Alzheimer's. So it goes up as people get older. However, dementia is not a normal part of aging. Not everyone is going to experience it. And in order for a person to be diagnosed, they have to have 2 or more core mental functions impaired. So that includes things like the memory, language, visual perception, the ability to focus and pay attention. And like I said before, it must impact the person's ability to do everyday tasks. It's also important to note that the causes and symptoms of dementia may vary depending on the form of dementia that a person has. So someone with Lewy body dementia, one of the first symptoms you might notice is hallucinations really early on, and hallucinations can happen with Alzheimer's as well. But early on with Lewy body dementia, it's really common for people to start seeing either kids or animals in the house that are not really there. With Alzheimer's disease, one of the first things you notice is the short-term memory is gone. They might ask the same question over and over again, or call you several times throughout the day to ask the same question. But longer-term memory, things that happened 10, 20, 30 years ago, they remember like it was yesterday. And it's also really important to note that every person with dementia or Alzheimer's is a person with dementia or Alzheimer's. They're going to experience things differently. So some of the things we're going to talk about today are the common symptoms, but not everyone experiences dementia and Alzheimer's in the same way. Not everyone is going to have all of the same symptoms. You might have some symptoms early on, some symptoms later on, but you might not have all of them. So I have just a brief video that I'm going to show you here.
Dementia is a word we give to a set of symptoms affecting different aspects of thinking and brain function that get worse over time and affect the way we live our lives. Dementia is not a normal part of aging. It is the result of physical diseases that damage the brain. Everything that makes us who we are, our personalities, intelligence, emotions, our hopes and our fears are driven by this incredible organ. The brain is the most complex structure in the known universe. Intricate networks of brain cells, bundles of nerve fibers, and hundreds of miles of blood vessels all work in careful unison to keep us ticking every day. Every second of our lives, nerve cells in the brain are firing. But when these cells become damaged and their connections start to break down, a person can develop dementia. The area of the brain where this damage occurs determines the symptoms a person experiences. If nerve cells in the back of the brain are damaged, a person's vision might be affected and they may have trouble reading words or climbing stairs. If nerve cells in the side of the brain are damaged, communication and language skills can change. There are 4 main diseases that cause dementia. The symptoms of these can overlap, sometimes making them difficult to tell apart. While each disease has characteristic symptoms, these can change from person to person depending on which areas of the brain the disease is affecting. Alzheimer's disease is the most common cause of dementia. Often, one of the first areas of the brain to be affected by Alzheimer's is the hippocampus. The hippocampus controls aspects of our memory and navigation. So, forgetfulness and getting lost are usually some of the first symptoms of Alzheimer's. In Alzheimer's, nerve cells are damaged by a buildup of 2 proteins in the brain, amyloid and tau. These proteins are present in all of our brains, but in Alzheimer's they behave unusually and begin to clump together. Researchers are still trying to understand what triggers this, but it's likely to be a mix of age, genetics, and other factors such as poor heart health. The buildup of harmful proteins is also a key factor in other diseases behind the condition, like dementia with Lewy bodies and frontotemporal dementia. This damage spreads from one area of the brain to another as the condition progresses. So symptoms get worse over time and people begin to find more aspects of day-to-day life difficult. Dementia with Lewy bodies can affect different areas of the brain, leading to a variety of symptoms including changes in attention, sleep problems, and hallucinations. The processes involved in dementia with Lewy bodies are similar to those involved in Parkinson's disease. And people with dementia with Lewy bodies can also develop Parkinson's-like symptoms such as shaking and slowed movement. Vascular dementia can occur after someone has had a stroke or the blood vessels in their brain are in poor health. While the other diseases that cause dementia spread steadily through the brain over time, vascular dementia can progress in distinct steps after an event such as a stroke, slowing a person's ability to think, plan, and pay attention. Unfortunately, there is currently no cure for any of the diseases that cause dementia, and no treatments that can slow or stop the spread of these diseases through the brain. Researchers all over the world are looking for new ways to tackle these diseases and protect precious nerve cells. Their work has the power to offer new hope to millions of individuals and families whose lives are affected by dementia. To find out more, search Alzheimer's Research UK.
So I really like that video because it does show the most common forms of dementia and talks about some of the most common symptoms. So I think that's a good starting point. And today, when we talk about the stages of dementia, we're really using the most common symptoms in each of those different types. Now, like I said before, not everyone is going to experience all of these same symptoms or experience them in exactly the same way. But it's a good generalization, a good overview of what you might be able to expect. So in this presentation, we are going to discuss the stages of dementia in 3 stages, so early, middle, and later. There are some dementia staging that use models that use 7 stages, but I think it's essential to remember that not everyone will fit into a specific stage or even go through every stage. The stages do have some overlap, and the progression of dementia is different for each person. It's a good idea to know what stage of dementia your loved one is in because you can arrange for the correct level of care. There's no specific symptom that will say what stage of dementia your loved one's in, so it's best to think of it as a continuum. So you're on a spectrum where in the early stages, it progresses into the later stages. Some really common symptoms in the early stages are listed on the screen. So things like struggling to find the right name or word, finding it difficult to complete everyday tasks, forgetting something they just read, frequently losing or misplacing things, having an increase in your trouble with planning and organizing, and poor judgment and decision making. During the earliest stages, people can still live independently. They may resume daily activities such as driving, working, and they'll continue with their social lives. During this time, excuse me, sorry, my cat found a toy and is playing with it. Where was I? So they may have lapses in their memory where they forget familiar words now and then, or they lose the location of everyday objects, like they can't find their car keys. And you might start to notice that your loved one is having difficulty or they seem off. Now, I do want to note that everyone loses their car keys every once in a while. You know, I can't find them in the bottom of my purse one day, or I didn't put them back on the hook by the door and so now I don't know where they are. That's normal. Everyone does that. It's when there's a pattern of these things happening over and over and over again every day or multiple times a day that's when it's really time to be a little bit concerned and talk to your doctor about what's going on. Try to maintain, encourage your loved one to maintain as much independence as possible. That's really important. The more you do for them as a caregiver, the more dependent upon your help your loved one will become. So here's another just short video that I'm going to play. Oh, or not. You try that. Let's try that again. I tested these out earlier and they worked. Okay, well, I will just describe that video for you. So it does show someone in the early stages of dementia. It's a cartoon and they keep calling. They live alone and they keep calling their daughter while she's at work to ask her simple questions, the same question over and over again. You know, when are you coming to visit? In the middle of the night, they're calling. During the day, they're calling, and just repeatedly. And that's when you start to say, what's going on? We should probably talk to mom's doctor. Her memory doesn't seem to be what it used to be. So how to help your loved one in the early stages. So if you do start to notice a pattern your loved one might have with issues with their memory, talk to them about your concerns. Try to schedule an appointment with their primary physician and go with them. A dementia diagnosis can be very difficult for both of you. So understand and accept that you both will have different emotions and fears about the future. Something that will help you with your concerns is making plans for your future and educating yourself about the disease as much as possible. Work together with your loved one to develop predictable routines and schedules. By creating a predictable schedule, your loved one will be able to maintain his or her abilities longer and maintain their independence. It will actually help reduce anxiety. As with all stages and life-changing aspects of dementia, be patient. Be realistic in your expectations for both you, and try lowering your expectations, or be prepared for things to not work out the way that you had hoped. As always, take care of yourself. This may mean finding a support group to meet others who are facing a similar situation, finding a counselor to discuss your feelings with, or spending time doing meaningful things with people that you love. It's also really important. I see a lot of caregivers forget to take care of themselves, do simple things like going to visit their doctor and their dentist regularly, eating healthy meals, still exercising regularly, doing all of those self-care things, because you are not going to be able to take care of your loved one if you are not taking care of yourself. It's kind of like that oxygen mask thing when you're in an airplane and they say you have to put on your own oxygen mask before you can help others. It's the same thing with caregiving. I recently watched a presentation where she compared it to a tank of gas. A car can't run on empty, and you can't either. And that's so true. If you are running on fumes, you're not going to be able to provide the best quality care for your loved one. Now, in the middle to moderate stages, people that are affected with dementia may no longer be aware of their limitations. It generally starts to affect long-term memory in addition to short-term memory, and decision-making skills may also have declined. So it might be a snowy day and they think it's appropriate to put on a t-shirt and flip-flops because they don't really pay attention to what the weather is. So you might need to help them pick out appropriate clothing. As dementia progresses too, people tend to withdraw and interact less with others. So they may start to have some socially inappropriate behaviors, such as decreased inhibitions. They might start just reach out and touch someone's hair if they think it's pretty. And that can make other people really uncomfortable. So if that's the case, I know some people will print out cards, like little business card type size, and that just say, you know, my loved one has dementia, please be kind to us. And that will kind of help other people if they understand more what's going on, so that they're maybe a little bit less uncomfortable. With frontal temporal dementia, this is especially common because people will just blurt out whatever they're thinking, even if it's a dirty joke or a swear word, or they might try to flirt with the waitress in front of their wife, and everyone just gets really uncomfortable. But you have to remember that it's the dementia that's the cause of the behavior, not the person themselves. You know, if that's something that's totally out of their character in a way that they would never act, then it's the dementia, it's the disease, it's not the person. Agitation too will often increase in the middle stages of dementia. You know, I just think about how frustrating it would be to not remember, or to be somewhere and not recognize the people who I'm with and not know what's going on. I would be scared, I'd be anxious. And so, yeah, I might snap at you, or my gut reaction might be to just slap your hand away if you're trying to reach out to help me do something. So be really patient with the person you're caring for. Sundowning is another thing that's really common. It's when the person with dementia may display an increase in their irritation and anxiety in the late afternoon and later on in the day as the sun starts to go down. And if you think about it, when you wake up and you have lots of energy, you're in a better mood. And then as the day goes on, it's really tiring for a person with dementia to keep up. So of course they're just exhausted and kind of grumpy. I get grumpy when I'm tired, so it's no different for a person with dementia. And you want to plan activities throughout the day accordingly. So if you're making a routine, like we said in the early stages, you want to maybe go for a walk in the morning, whereas later in the afternoon, it's not going to be the best time to go for a walk. Some people in the middle stages of Alzheimer's will experience fearfulness, anxiety, or even hallucinations. It's not uncommon for a person to become really suspicious and accuse you of stealing their money or trying to hurt you. And when you respond to them, it's really important for you to remember that, like I said before, it's the disease talking. So if they do accuse you of stealing from them, that can be really hurtful. Try not to take it personally. And you really do have to join their world, join their reality. So if they think that you're stealing from them, try to think on their level. Don't get super defensive and say, no, I would never steal from you. Say, oh, I can see why you think that, but I'm using this money to buy your groceries. Or I brought your favorite sweater that is missing, I brought it to the laundromat to wash it for you. And that way you're not getting defensive, which can really escalate the situation. You're joining their reality and you're trying to explain things to them in a way that will make sense to them. So don't take it personally. It's not a choice. Sometimes people think, oh, they're choosing to act this way. It's not a choice. It's beyond his or her control. So it's best to reassure her of your love and your care for her. Your loved one might also display poor grooming skills. They might start showering infrequently or stop styling their hair. They might wear clothes that are stained. So it's often related to forgetfulness. And they might also get offended if you say, oh, geez, Mom, it's time for you to take a shower. You kind of stink. That would be really offensive. And she'd say, no, I showered this morning. Because her memory is not what it used to be. And in her mind, she really did shower that morning. So instead, maybe say, oh, we have company coming over for dinner. Why don't we go get you cleaned up? And take that approach where it's going to be, you're going to be met with a little bit less resistance. And try to think of it as accomplishing the task, and you're going to have to break it up when you're trying to accomplish that task into smaller steps. So she might have forgotten how to wash her hair, so she just rinsed it with water. And you're going to have to help remind her, okay, now it's time to get the shampoo. We put it in your hand, we rub it in your hair, you want to massage your scalp really well. Okay, now it's time to rinse it all out, and really break it out into step-by-step directions. It's also really common in the middle stages for someone to have a decrease in their appetite and to lose a lot of weight. That is very common as dementia progresses. And sleeping patterns may be altered as well. So she might start dozing off in the middle of the day or have trouble staying or falling asleep at night. And that can really impact the caregiver as well. You know, if your loved one's not sleeping through the night, then you're not sleeping through the night either. And so either finding somebody else who can respond to them in the middle of the night if they need help going to the bathroom or falling or staying asleep, so that you can get some rest, can be a really good idea. And then take turns so that you're helping during the day and someone else is helping at night. So how to help your loved one in the middle stage. Here are some ways that are really helpful for caregivers to keep in mind. So gentle reminders. Your loved one may need help with their memory. For example, he might not remember familiar faces, or he might recognize the face of someone but not remember the name. So offer cues to help fill in the gaps. Say, hi Dad, it's me, Kristen. I've brought your grandson, Jason, to visit you. And that way they're not put on the spot if they don't remember the name right away. Put the onus on the person without dementia rather than the person with dementia. Keep it simple. Stick to clothing that's easy to put on and simple hairstyles. Speak slowly and clearly. and use physical gestures to reinforce your message, and stick to concrete rather than abstract ideas. Less is more. Reduce distractions. Large crowds, large noises, or a super loud TV or radio can easily distract or even upset a person with dementia. So especially if you're trying to get something done with them in the room, turn off the TV, turn off the radio, and that way they can focus on whatever it is you're trying to work on together. Establish a daily routine and maintain it regularly. That will actually help calm and reassure your loved one. And don't disagree. This is often the hardest thing for caregivers because they know what is in reality, but you really need to join their world. So avoid arguing with the person and avoid trying to convince them of what you think to be true. Choose your words really carefully when communicating with a person with dementia, and always identify yourself and approach the person from the front. So if you're walking into a room, approach them from the front and at eye level. This will help orient the person and get his or her attention. Learn to read difficult behavior. There's often a reason for the person to be acting in a difficult manner. If they're snapping at you or just saying no, try to figure out what the problem is. Are they hungry? Do they need to use the bathroom? Are they hot? Do we need to move the fan or take off a layer of their clothing? And recall the past. Sometimes remembering events or people from the past may help calm the person. Many people with memory loss will elope. They'll try to run away. So, wandering. Yes, wandering is a big thing for people with dementia. They try to get away, either try to go to home, go to work, even if they are at home. So keep that in mind and make sure you're supervising them and you have tasks or activities to keep them busy throughout the day too, because a lot of times it's when they're bored that they'll try to run away. So maybe have a memory book with pictures of people they can look at from their past that they do still remember. And that can be a nice activity. It's easy. You can get it out right away, put it in their lap and look through it together. And that will sometimes keep them busy and distracted. Now, in the later stages, many people with dementia will become quite immobile and they'll spend a lot of their time in bed or in a wheelchair. They might no longer respond. So in this stage, they will really benefit from just having someone sit there and hold their hand, smile, chat with them, tell them stories, read them a book. And you might receive a smile, you might hear some attempts at language. The behavior challenges that you might have seen in the middle stages will be replaced with what looks like complete withdrawal. However, these individuals will, like I said before, they'll still benefit from holding a conversation, listening to music, looking at pictures, and people in late stage dementia, they often will become more prone to illness as their body loses strength. So often infections like pneumonia will eventually cause their death. So in the late stage, you still need to be taking care of yourself. That's number one, doing all those things we talked about before, getting some rest, getting a good night's sleep, eating healthy, exercising, going to your doctor's appointments. Bring in outside help if you haven't done so already. Now, those could be home health aides or nurses, could also be other family members, relying on your kids or your brothers or your sisters, whoever's in the area, even friends from church. Anyone who can really help give you a break or help with other tasks. If they're not comfortable doing the hands-on care, they could go grocery shopping for you. They could drive to doctor's appointments for you. They could help maintain your front lawn, anything like that that will take some of the burden off from you. You may want to consider palliative or hospice care to help provide comfort for your loved one. And remember their advance directives and end-of-life wishes. So you should have gotten those in place in the early stages if you didn't have them before the dementia started to inset, so that you're able to look back and say, oh, this is what mom wanted, or this is what my husband wanted. And that way you can really fulfill their wishes. Be graceful to yourself. A lot of caregivers are very hard on themselves, but you are doing a great job. You're doing the best that you can. So I did want to let you know about a few other organizations. So if you are a caregiver, of course, there's our program, the Caregiver Support Initiative. There's also the Center for Excellence of Alzheimer's Disease, and the nearest one to us is in Glens Falls, and they cover the six counties that we cover: Franklin, Clinton, Essex, Warren, Washington, and Hamilton, and they are a wonderful resource. There's the Alzheimer's Association, of course. They have a lot of great programs that are happening virtually right now as well. Webinars, they're doing tele-support groups. So if you're interested in a support group and the time of ours doesn't work out, the Alzheimer's Association is there for you too. Or maybe you would benefit from going to 2 a month rather than 1 a month. That's another option for you. The Office for the Aging is a wonderful resource. And if you're a veteran or your loved one is a veteran, you can also look into the VA. Now, that brings me to the end of my presentation. Are there any questions or comments? I'll give you a minute to see if anything comes up. Well, while you're typing in any questions, if you do have them, I do want to let you know about a few programs that we have coming up. So on July 20th, I have another webinar at 1 p.m., another Monday, and that one is going to be on family dynamics. I said before that on July 16th, we are having that memory cafe. It's going to happen virtually on Zoom as well. And it's going to be a musical performance with Mitch Willett. I'm excited for that. And then lastly, on July 28th, we are doing another caregiver conference. This one is called How to Survive Caregiving with Sanity and a Sense of Humor, and it is presented by Jim Comer. So if you would like to register for any of those events, you can feel free to call me. My phone number is 518-564-2049. Again, that's 518-564-2049, and I can get you registered for that. Okay, I do have one question that came up to me, and it says, my mom is in the early stages of dementia, and I don't have her legal and financial affairs in order. What do I do? How do I get started? Well, the first thing that I would recommend doing, and this is a wonderful question. So if you are in Clinton County, you can reach out to the Rural Law Center and they will help get all of your legal affairs in order. You could also, if you're in another county, reach out to New York Connects and they can connect you with an agency in your area that can help you get started. There's also, as far as advanced directives and for her healthcare wishes for the future, in New York, we recognize the 5 Wishes program, which is a pamphlet. It asks wonderful questions about things that I would never even think of for you to consider. So it counts as a binding document in New York. I believe you need 2 witnesses, and we have copies of that at the Alzheimer's Disease Caregiver Support Initiative. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know. I'd be happy to mail you or drop you off a copy of that brochure. There is one more question that came in, and it says, what is the difference between Alzheimer's disease and dementia? And then it's a 2-part question. And then it says, how do I know if it's normal aging? So I did cover this in the beginning of the program, but dementia is an umbrella term. It's up at the top of the umbrella. There's many different types of dementia. So Alzheimer's disease is just one type of dementia, but dementia is a broader category for a whole slew of memory problems. And that's why it's really important when you start noticing memory problems to go to your doctor and find out what specific form of dementia it is, if it is a form of dementia. There's also a bunch of medical conditions that could look like dementia. So there's thyroid, kidney, and liver problems. Those all can cause memory loss. Could have normal pressure hydrocephalus, which is the buildup of fluid in the brain. You could have a concussion or another brain injury. You could have a tumor. Could be drinking too much alcohol. Vitamin deficiencies, side effects from medication. So all of those things can cause memory loss, but they're treatable. And then on the other side, there are what's called neurodegenerative disorders. So those are the things like Alzheimer's disease, vascular dementia, Lewy body dementia, frontal temporal dementia, and those are neurodegenerative disorders for which there are no cure, unfortunately, at least at this time. And so that's where there's the progressive irreversible memory loss. And that is why it's really important to go to your doctor and find out, is it something that's treatable or not? And then lastly is, so the difference between normal aging and dementia. So everybody forgets things every once in a while. You know, you get to the grocery store, you left your grocery list on the kitchen counter, and you're like, okay, I know I needed bread, milk, and eggs, but oh, I forgot I needed orange juice. I got home and I saw the list and there was orange juice on the list. Everyone forgets things like that. But if you are getting lost in a familiar neighborhood, if you are forgetting things over and over and over again, if you notice someone's forgetting like what they see this object and they forget what it's used for, if you forget what a common object is or what it's used for, that could be a sign of dementia. And if you're in any doubt, I advise everyone to talk to your doctor about it, and they will really be able to help you determine, is it normal memory loss or just normal aging, or is it dementia? Well, I think that's it. I don't see any other questions. So thank you very much for coming today. Normally with all of my presentations, I give out books. So I do have a book that goes along with this. It's Coach Boyle's Guide. And I'd be happy to mail that or drop that off to you if that's something that you are interested in. And I am also happy to either email you or mail you a copy of today's slide. So if that is something you're interested in, please give me a call or email me. Otherwise, I hope you all have a great day. Thank you, and I hope to see you at another one of our events. Take care.